She's pregnant. I'm gonna marry her. So divorce me.
My husband brought his mistress to our house and said such things. But there was no way I would let them have their way. I resisted. Huh? Divorce? Not happening.
Huh?
Did you think I would just quietly step aside? It's a shame things didn't go according to your plan. As I watched the two of them turn pale, I burst into laughter. My name is Lauren, a 38-year-old housewife. I'm currently in a relationship with a man named Sean. We met through work, as our companies were business partners. At first, it was a professional relationship, but one day he asked me out for a meal. From there, we started to see each other as potential romantic partners. We later discovered that we were the same age and even went to the same university. Knowing that we had attended the same campus around the same time felt strangely serendipitous. After that, he regularly invited me out on dates and meals. After a few dates, we officially became a couple. It has been about 2 years since we started dating, and I find myself falling more and more in love with him. I even started to consider the possibility of marrying him. And then, out of the blue, he proposed to me.
Lauren, I want to spend the rest of my life with you. So, will you marry me?
Saying that, he handed me an engagement ring. I was overjoyed to marry the man I loved. After completing the formalities of meeting each other's families and having a wedding ceremony, we started our married life smoothly. Since I was told that I should focus on being a housemaker after marriage, I quit my job and became a full-time housewife. As a full-time housewife, I was determined to excel in housework, so I studied by watching various websites and videos. Thanks to that, I became very knowledgeable about cleaning methods, useful gadgets, and even cooking recipes. Since I cook different dishes every day, my husband is very satisfied.
This stuffed bell pepper is incredibly delicious. This sauce is amazing.
Right? I thought you would like it, Sean. Seeing my husband eating happily with a smile on his face makes me incredibly happy. Every day, I think about new menus, hoping to see that smile again. And on weekends, we go on drives or hikes together, enjoying our times together. My husband works hard and earns a good income, so even as a full-time housewife, I can live comfortably. And before we knew it, 3 years had passed since we got married. Even now, we mostly have happy days, but there was one concern. Recently, my husband's business trips have increased. He seems to be entrusted with more business trips because he is good at his job. He has at least 3 business trips per month. And when he goes on a trip, he doesn't come home for several days. Living alone with my husband, I have to spend lonely days in an empty house. Honestly, it's boring without my husband. I feel lonely and I lose motivation to cook and clean. But I can't complain because my husband's increasing business trips are due to expectations from his superiors. Besides, as a full-time housewife who relies on my husband's income, I should be grateful that his work is increasing. While convincing myself with these thoughts, I went to bed early and fell asleep.
Babe, I'm home.
Hi, honey. Good to have you back.
Here, I got your souvenir.
Thank you. It looks delicious. Whenever he returns from a business trip, he always brings me souvenirs. I brewed some tea. Delighted to see my husband after several days. This has become a common routine lately. I'm like a dog wagging his tail, excited when my husband comes home. But unexpectedly, my husband's business trip increased even more. It was very lonely, not being able to go out with him on weekends. However, something joyful happened amidst of all this.
Huh? Pregnant?
Today I went to the doctor. They confirmed that I'm pregnant. Yes, I found out that I'm pregnant.
Whoa, I'm gonna be a dad.
My husband was overjoyed, and that made me incredibly happy. We can work together as a couple to build a good family. I was filled with excitement and anticipation. However, even after the pregnancy was confirmed, my husband's business trips continued as usual. Since I was pregnant, I wished he could at least support me at home on weekends. And even during weekdays, when he was away on business trip, I was alone at home. Although my belly wasn't big yet, I couldn't help but feel anxious about being alone if something happened. Thank you for coming all the way here.
It's fine. I'm a full-time housewife, so I have free time.
My mother-in-law came to our house and supported me when my husband was on business trips. Having her with childbirth experience and excellent housekeeping skills by my side was very reassuring. My parents live in a different state, and it's not easy for them to come and go easily. That's why I'm truly grateful to my mother-in-law. I'll help you and make sure you can have a peaceful time until the delivery. That will be a good help. Thank you so much. I was happy that my in-laws were so kind. I often hear stories about conflicts between daughter-in-law and mother-in-law, but I didn't have any of those issues. Time passed, and I finally gave birth. A beautiful baby girl came into this world, and she was incredibly adorable.
Well, here she is. Oh, she's so cute. Good job, Lauren.
Yeah, she's our baby. My husband was also delighted by our daughter's birth. We both decided to do our best in raising our child. But sadly, after that, my husband's business trips continued, and he was often away from home. As a first-time parent, I felt extremely anxious without my husband nearby. Recognizing my anxiety, my mother-in-law came to my aid once again.
Normally, when a baby is born, I think the company should consider various things.
She spoke up, supporting me. Her presence had become a significant support for me. Without her, I wouldn't have been able to remain as calm as I did. I think I would have been overwhelmed by anxiety and taken it out on my husband. But even with my mother-in-law's support, my frustration towards my husband continued to grow. And then, there was a moment when I couldn't hold back any longer, and I erupted.
I have a business trip scheduled for about 4 days, starting next Thursday.
I think that conversation was the trigger.
Again?
Why do you have so many business trips? I suddenly raised my voice, surprising my husband.
What? It's work. There's nothing I can do about it.
My husband responded, looking annoyed by my remark. It was a shock for me that he wore such an exasperated expression when I wanted us to have more time together as a couple. And amidst all that, I saw something I never expected. It happened while my husband was in the bath. Usually, he would take his phone with him to the changing room, but that day, his phone was left in the living room. As I gazed at my husband's phone, a message from an unknown person suddenly appeared on the screen. I couldn't help but look at it, and it made me uneasy. There, the name Hazel appeared, someone I didn't recognize. Could it possibly... I had a very unpleasant feeling. When my husband finished his bath and came out, I immediately moved away from the phone. In a rush, my husband grabbed his phone and went back to the washroom to dry his hair. It was suspicious because it had never happened before. With my husband bringing up the business trip, I finally decided to investigate him. I hired a PI, and what I discovered was unbelievable.
It seemed that my husband was having an affair during his business trips. The other person was a woman living in a different region, and she seemed considerably younger. I was shocked to learn that my husband had developed a relationship with someone else while he had our little child here. How could he betray us like this? I felt disillusioned with my husband all at once. Lauren? Are you feeling unwell? You look pale. In front of my kind-hearted mother-in-law, I couldn't help but burst into tears. What's wrong? Startled, my mother-in-law stammered as I tried to explain. Her face quickly turned red, and she seemed angry. That idiot son of mine! I can't forgive him causing you such pain. My mother-in-law stood up for me, and she proposed a certain plan. I decided to go along with it. From then on, I was able to focus on raising our child. My husband seemed oblivious to the fact that I knew about his affair. I'm sorry, Lauren. I have another business trip next week. My husband explained it as usual. I couldn't help but find his attempts to deceive me comical. I had already lost my feelings for him. Pretending not to know anything, I played the role of a housewife. My husband seemed to notice that my attitude had become cold. But since he had an affair partner, he didn't make any effort to improve our relationship. And I was 6 months into this lifestyle. One day, he returned from a business trip. My husband finally took action. Hey, Sean. Who's that woman? To my surprise, my husband brought a woman with him when he returned from the trip. The woman had the same face as Hazel, the one in the evidence photo of the affair. This is Hazel. We're in a relationship. I pretended to be shocked on purpose. Then,
It must be surprising for you to be suddenly confronted like this, right? And be introduced to a mistress. You must be shocked, aren't you?
she had a smug expression on her face, thinking I was unable to speak due to shock. And my husband, without caring about me, and said, "She's pregnant. I'm gonna marry her. So, divorce me." He brought his mistress to our home and said such things to me. Huh? Pregnant? Even I couldn't have imagined that she was pregnant. Please understand, she needs me. She's still young and can't live on her own yet. I knew from the investigation that she was still a college student. I felt a chill and disgust when I learned that my husband was having an affair with a student during his business trips. You'll be fine, right? Our relationship was practically over anyway. So divorce me and leave soon. My husband demanded it, as it were a matter of course. But I wouldn't let things go as they wished. Well, no. I'm not getting a divorce, you know. Huh? What do you mean? You heard us, right? We're having an affair. Normally, people would be furious and get a divorce, wouldn't they? Oh, did you think I would quietly step aside? Well, too bad things didn't go as planned. Anyway, I'm not getting a divorce. And of course, I'll be seeking compensation for the affair. It leaves a pretty bad impression that you are having an affair while we have an infant. The compensation is going to be quite high, I suppose. You. Oh, and Hazel, right? It doesn't matter if you were a student. The fact remains that you committed a crime. I'll be seeking compensation from you too. No! That's something I can't afford. Well, then you can have your parents cover it for you. That's impossible. I haven't told my parents anything yet. Is that so? Then I'll send a certified letter to your parents explain the situation. Also, just so you know, I was aware of your affair. and that my husband was practically living with you in your room. That can be a reason to increase the compensation. What you both have done is utterly despicable.
That's too much. You're horrible.
My condolences.
Damn it.
So, as I said, I'm not getting a divorce. But I will make sure to receive the compensation. After that, I'll leave this house and go back to my parents. But I won't get a divorce. Which means you two won't be able to get married.
This is unbelievable.
While watching the two of them turn pale, I burst into laughter. Oh, by the way, it was your mother who suggested this plan. When I told her about your affair, both your mother and father were furious. They said they no longer consider you their son and wanted to cut ties.
That's gotta be a lie.
Well, why don't you contact them and find out? I don't know they'll respond, but go ahead.
What does this mean? We're not getting married. Do I have to raise the baby all by myself?
Hazel seemed quite shaken. Maybe you'll have to bow your head to your own parents and ask for help with raising a child.
That's impossible. They'll never forgive me, I'm sure.
Well, that's your problem then. Anyway, that's how it is. I'll be going back to my parents. I started packing my belongings as I said that. My husband and his affair partner was sitting there, pale-faced and slumped. Afterwards, through my lawyer, I demanded compensation from my husband and his affair partner. Thanks to an excellent lawyer who assisted me, I received a good amount of compensation. As for my husband, news spread at his workplace that he impregnated a college student while leaving his newly born child and wife behind on fake business trips. However, he couldn't quit his job because he had to pay the hefty compensation, spousal support to me, and child support to his affair partner. He was also disowned by his parents and is currently living a lonely and harsh life, it seems. As for the affair partner, I don't know what happened to her. Since she's still a college student, she might make more mistakes, but I hope she reflects on herself and becomes a good mother. As for me, I've returned to my parents' house and started working as an office clerk in a small local company. I occasionally keep in touch with my in-laws and show them my daughter's face. I'm very grateful to my mother-in-law who suggested this plan. Seeing both the affair partner and my husband suffer the consequences, I'm thinking about getting a divorce and becoming a single mother. I believe I can raise my daughter well, even on my own. Just by being born into this world, my daughter is a strong child. I will trust in ourselves and move forward, living our lives together.
My husband, who remarried my sister and left me, got my father's inheritance of $3 million. But few months later...
What? Why are you inheriting my father's assets?
Well, that's what is written in your father's will.
My husband is to inherit my father's assets.
Let's get a divorce.
My husband, Luke, chose to leave me and remarry my elder sister, Carla. I was in complete despair and had fallen into the bottomless pit. Then, a month after I was kicked out of the house, I suddenly received a phone call from my ex-husband.
Hey, what the hell is going on? You deceived us, didn't you?
My name is Phoebe. I'm a 32-year-old office worker. I currently work for my father's company. Until now, I have been working for 10 years at the company I started working for after graduating from college. But my father asked me to work for his company on the premise that I would be his successor as the next CEO of the company. Now the best people in the office are teaching me all kinds of work. Phoebe, you really are a quick learner. Regardless of the fact that you are the CEO's daughter, you are very talented and skilled. Thank you very much. It's all thanks to the way you all teach me how to work here. Everyone who worked in my father's company was very good at their jobs and very kind. I think this is because of my father, the CEO of the company, is a very virtuous person himself. I am working hard every day, hoping to be like my father someday.
Good job on your work today. Were you busy?
Yes, it was difficult because I had to learn a lot of things. When I came home, my boyfriend Luke greeted me.
Today I made your favorite Salisbury steak.
Oh, yay! He comes home earlier than I do and always cooks dinner for me. He is a very important person who supports me when I am busy with my work. We met at my previous company where I used to work at, where he was my subordinate at the time.
I love you, Phoebe. Please, don't see me just as your subordinate, but also please see me as a man.
I was surprised to hear him say that to me, but from that day on I became aware of him as a man. Once I was attracted to him, I became more and more interested in him, and we went on several dates and ended up dating. Now it has been about 2 years since we started dating, but we started living together a while ago and we are both very happy being together every day. He is a very good cook, and I am energized by his delicious meals every day. He supports me in this way, and now I feel like I can't really live without him. One day, he had prepared lots of side dishes for dinner. Huh? What's wrong, honey? There are lots of side dishes here. Was it special day today? Like, is it our anniversary or something? I wondered if I had been too focused on my work that I had forgotten something so important. If that was the case, I felt really guilty. But it seems that wasn't the case.
I wanted to talk to you about something very important today, so I prepared these dishes for us.
Something important?
Phoebe, please marry me. I want to continue to support Phoebe with all my heart.
What? I was surprised by Luke's sudden proposal, but I was extremely happy. Thank you, Luke. I also want to marry you.
Really?
Yes. I'm looking forward to being with you more from now on.
Yay!
Luke looked very happy. Then we enjoyed the delicious meals Luke made and drinks prepared by him. Then, to move things forward, he and I greeted each other's parents. My parents liked him very much because he was sincere and kind. Luke is really handsome and good-looking. My sister Carla also said so about Luke and liked him. Well, how should I put it? It sounded like Carla liked him in a different way, though. Then we proceeded with our wedding preparations. We invited many people from each of our workplaces and friends and had a big wedding. We were so happy to be blessed by so many people. Even though we were living together, our newlywed life felt fresh and happy for the two of us. My husband took the lead in housework after our marriage, and I was able to devote myself to my work.
Phoebe, you seem to be working even harder these days. I'm getting reports like that from your managers.
Really? I'm sure it's because Luke is taking the initiative to take care of things at home. He's helping me out a lot, you know.
Oh, well, you must be very grateful to him. He seems like a nice guy.
He doesn't seem nice. He's really a nice, good person.
Oh, right. Sorry.
My father also complimented my husband, which made me happy. 3 years passed in the blink of an eye. During that time, many things happened. First, I was promoted as the section chief. Then my mother was diagnosed with cancer last year and recently passed away. She took very good care of Carla and I. I was very sad when she had passed away. My mother's death was also very painful for my father. Although my father puts on a brave face at work, he sometimes appeared very sad and depressed when he was with his family. My husband was worried about my father, so one day he made me a proposal.
If you'd like, why don't we move in with your father at your parents' house?
What?
If we do that, you'd feel better too, right?
Luke, thank you. I immediately proposed to my father the idea that we live together.
Phoebe, Luke, are you sure about this? Sir, we both care about you. In times like this, let's support each other as a family.
Luke, I was very happy that my husband cared about my father like this. And my father was also happy to hear that. So, Luke and I moved into my parents' home and started living with my father. My husband took the initiative in doing the housework at my parents' house and served delicious meals to my father and I.
Oh, this dish is really delicious. Thank you. It goes really well with red wine. Oh, that's true. I won't be able to stop drinking now.
Father, you're drinking too much.
Well, you've been drinking a lot too, Phoebe.
That's for sure.
Well, tomorrow is the day off, so let's drink without having to worry about anything.
My father also liked my husband's cooking, and we enjoyed our meals together every day. My father gradually regained his energy, and even outside of the office, he began to smile more and more. He began to work hard as the CEO of the company, and I was able to devote myself to my work with peace of mind. About a year later, however, my father suddenly got sick. My husband and I rushed to the hospital. Father, are you all right?
Oh, I'm sorry, both of you, for making you all worry.
No, but
I'm glad you're okay. The doctors told me it would have been dangerous if you were taken to the hospital too late. Is that so? I may have pushed myself a little too hard. I've been working so hard for all these years after all.
My father had really worked really hard without hardly taking any breaks since he started his company. Therefore, he must have pushed himself very hard when he was much younger. My father's condition was critical, and it seems like he needs to be hospitalized. The people at the company were quite upset about the situation of their CEO being hospitalized. I made every effort to support the company in my father's place. My husband went to visit my father even when I was too busy with work to go. However, my father's condition was getting worse and worse, and my husband and I decided that we had to prepare mentally for what was coming. About a month later, my father peacefully passed away. I was very saddened by his death. My husband hugged me as I broke down in tears and said,
"Let's see your father off properly."
I nodded my head in agreement, and together with my husband, we prepared and made arrangements for the funeral. Many people attended my father's funeral, which showed how much he was loved by so many people. We saw my father off, and the funeral was held without any issues. A few days later, a lawyer and my sister came to my parents' house to discuss about the inheritance.
Well then, I will open the will.
The lawyer opened the will and read out the contents.
It says that Luke will inherit all of your father's estate, Carla will inherit the remainder, and Phoebe will not inherit anything.
Huh? What do you mean? I could not believe my ears. Why would I not inherit my father's assets? Why are you inheriting everything, Luke? I did not understand this point either. But my husband didn't seem to question it at all.
Well, that's what is written in your father's will.
He said it as if it was a normal thing.
Father-in-law wrote in his will that you will not inherit anything, so you have to give up your rights to inherit.
What? No way. Well, it can't be helped, Phoebe. Even I only get the remaining portion of the estate too. Carla would say that, but I was also concerned about my sister's lack of rebellion against this will. She didn't get along with my father very well. She was the type of person who only wanted what was good for herself and had no appreciation for her parents. So, when Carla was a child, she did whatever she wanted and got my parents into a lot of trouble. My father and mother had a hard time with her, but after she graduated from a vocational school, my sister moved from one man's house to another and never got a regular job. She'd tend to go back to our parents' house whenever she needed some money. When she reported that my husband and I were getting married, she must have come to see us out of curiosity. It was still understandable that my sister, who had been troubling my parents in this way, would only receive the remainder of the estate. But it was really strange that my sister did not go against the will. It was impossible that my sister, who often came to collect money, would not be angry at the fact that her share of the inheritance was so small. However, I could not find out the reason, so I had no choice but to proceed according to the will. My husband was to inherit my father's estate. According to the will, Luke was to inherit $3 million in cash, and my husband was to inherit almost all of it. And I had to go through the process of giving up my rights to inherit. Well, I guess my father had his own ideas. But right after I had given up my rights to inherit, my husband's attitude suddenly changed, and he suddenly said something unbelievable.
Let's get a divorce.
Excuse me? What do you mean?
There is someone else I want to be with.
What? Does that mean you were having an affair?
That's what people might say. Well, from my point of view, I should say it was a fateful encounter.
You're horrible. You betrayed me.
Well, come on now. Don't be so angry. I'm inviting my mistress over today, too.
Huh? I wondered what the hell Luke was trying to do. Then the front door opened and my sister Carla came into the living room. Hi, Phoebe. Carla? Could it be that your mistress is my sister, Carla? I'm sorry. I stole your precious husband away from you. But he chose me too. So it can't be helped, you see.
Yeah, you're right. I like Carla more than Phoebe.
You're so handsome, Luke. My husband and my sister was flirting right in front of me like that. So, my husband chose to leave me and remarry my sister.
Here are the divorce papers. Just sign it and get out. I inherited this house from my father-in-law anyways. I went to visit him every day at the hospital, and when we talked, I guess he fell in love with me even more. He allowed me to inherit all of his assets, you know. But well, he didn't know that Carla and I were dating behind his back, did he?
My husband smirks nastily as he says that. He really is the worst. I packed my bags and left the house, feeling hopeless and helpless, with grief, sadness, anger, and with every emotion except for happiness. I was in complete despair and had fallen into the bottomless pit. At any rate, I stayed at a business hotel, and after crying all night, I went to a real estate agency. And I immediately rented a room in an apartment for a single person. Then I worked while my wounds were still healing. Even if my husband and my sister betrayed me, I had to make sure the company was in good hands. Then about a month after I was kicked out of the house, I suddenly received a phone call from my ex-husband.
Hey, what the hell is going on? You deceived us, didn't you?
Huh? What on earth are you talking about?
It's about your father's debt. Why didn't you tell us anything about it?
Huh? Debt? I couldn't believe my ears. I had never heard of my father being in debt. But according to my husband and sister, who inherited the estate, my father had $4 million in debt.
It seems he was a joint guarantor for some of his friends' debt. And now that your father is gone, all the bill is coming to us, the heirs.
I was completely speechless and surprised. And I wondered if this might have been my father's plan after all. Then the voice on the phone changed to my sister.
You knew everything about this, didn't you? That's why you agreed to the divorce, didn't you?
No, I didn't. I was just in shock and wanted to get out of that house as soon as possible, so that's why. I didn't know our father was in that much debt.
How could this happen? Even if we sell this house, we will still be left with another $500,000 in debt.
That's how my sister and my ex-husband would scream to me. But this was a great opportunity for me. But I already gave up my rights to inherit, so you both have no choice but to take the inheritance, and you guys are the ones who have to pay back the debt, you know? Also, aren't you forgetting about this? The alimony for me?
Wait a minute. Are you trying to charge alimony to us who are suffering already?
Carla, you and Luke just put yourselves in a situation where you had to suffer, didn't you? I was intentionally put in a situation where you two inflicted emotional pain to me. It's only natural that you should pay for that, isn't it? I'm going to charge you and Luke $30,000 each. Go ahead and taste the despair of suffering in all these debts. I heard the pathetic screams of my ex-husband and my sister. I hung up the phone and immediately filed a claim for alimony to the two of them through my lawyer. The lawyer I requested at that time was the one who read the will at my father's funeral. He handed me a letter left by my father saying,
"Actually, I have a letter from your father."
When I read the contents, I was astonished. To my surprise, my father knew about the affair between my ex-husband and my sister. When he was in the hospital, his two secretaries saw them being together. So my father thought of this revenge to punish my ex-husband and sister for betraying me. He also wrote that he would give up his position as CEO to me, and that he had already informed the executives of the company about it.
Phoebe, please take good care of my company and the employees.
I was determined to protect my father's company. Soon after that, my sister and my ex-husband suddenly stormed into the company.
I am my father-in-law's son. That's why I'm going to be the CEO of the company.
Yes, normally the husband of the eldest daughter should be appointed as the CEO, right?
The two of them insisted so, and to that, the vice president began to talk to them.
It has been decided that the position of CEO will be given to Mrs. Phoebe. As the outsiders, we will ask you two to pay for damages for interfering with our business.
Damages for interfering with your business?
The two of them flinched at the calm remark of the vice president and the word damages.
We could go ahead and call the police and report you guys as being suspicious, you know? In any case, you guys are going to suffer a considerable amount of pain.
Hearing that, the two quickly fled out of the company. I guess they didn't want to be even more in debt. Since then, my ex-husband and sister have not shown their faces at all. Well, I guess they are too busy paying off their debts. Then I officially became the CEO of the company, and now I am working very hard as a manager with the support of many people. Many of my business partners continues their contract with our company because they see me working so hard. I am grateful for the kindness of those around me, and I will do my best to become a CEO who is adored and admired like my father. Luke, who seemed kind at first glance, was blinded by money and women in the end after all. However, Phoebe's father handled the situation calmly, and I thought he was indeed a great CEO. In the end, I got to see Carla and Luke suffer, and I thought that they both deserved what they got. I hope Phoebe will do her best as a business owner from now on, but she is still young, so I hope she takes her time to find a new partner as well. I hope Phoebe's life will be happy from now on. Thank you for watching to the end. Please subscribe to our channel. See you in the next video.
My husband says that we should show his parents their grandchildren soon, but I was fed up, so I confronted him, and he regrets.
Next time, let's show my parents their grandkids or something.
What?
Mom and Dad said they can't wait to see their grandkids' faces, and if we have kids, maybe they'll be more nicer to you, don't you think?
I reached the peak of my anger and said to my husband, "Stop the car." My husband was surprised, but when I repeatedly said, "Stop the car now," he reluctantly stopped the car. I immediately got out of the car and said, "Let's get a divorce," and left him on the spot. My husband froze as he says,
Excuse me?
"My name is Nina. I am a 30-year-old office worker. My husband Drake and I have been married for 2 years. Our life as a married couple is fine, but there was something that troubled me that I could not overlook. It was about my parents-in-law, Bernie and Maria."
Nina, my mom and dad wants us to come over this weekend.
"What? Again?"
Oh, come on. Don't say it like that. They want us to weed their garden.
"But I was planning to go shopping with my mom this coming weekend." Even when I refused, my husband would not back down one step.
Honey, if I go alone, my mother will complain again, won't she? It would exactly be like what happened the last time.
What happened last time was that my mother-in-law Maria called me repeatedly to annoy me even though I was at work on my day off. Also, I received several text messages from my husband as well, and I couldn't concentrate on my work at all. "But..."
Please, you don't want things to get awkward with my mom and dad, do you?
My husband says so, and so I reluctantly agreed to go to my in-laws' house. It took about 2 hours by car to get to my in-laws' house. In the back seat were the groceries from the supermarket and cleaning supplies. My husband and I are on our way to my in-laws' house almost every weekend to do their house chores.
I'm sorry about that. You promised to be with your mother, didn't you?
My husband says this as we get in the car. It was obvious that he was just saying that without any heart. "Don't worry, I've got it postponed to next week," I replied, forcefully pushing down my sadness. When we arrived at my parents-in-law's house, Maria greeted us. "Oh, Drake, welcome home." Maria would smile hugely at my husband. "Hello, Maria." But to me, she didn't even look at me and would just say, "Hurry up and weed the garden, please." So I went to the garden by myself and started weeding. When I glanced inside the house, I saw my husband, Maria, and Bernie talking happily together. Moreover, there was a cake on the dining table, and the three of them were having tea together elegantly. Why did I have to weed the garden of my parents-in-law's house alone, under such a scorching sun? When I finally finished weeding, it was already almost noon. "Hey, you! How long are you taking? Hurry up and get lunch ready." So I quickly made curry as Maria urged me on to make lunch. But once, seeing my curry, my parents-in-law began to complain to me. "Are you going to make us eat curry?"
You've really underestimated us, haven't you?
"You really are a disgrace as a wife, aren't you?"
Hey, Maria, I want to eat some fried chicken. Let's order delivery.
"Yes, let's do that. Oh, but Nina, please, eat that curry."
But make sure not to eat all of it. We'll have the rest of the curry for dinner.
My in-laws were yelling at me like that and ordered the fried chicken just for themselves. They even handed me the bill for me to pay. What? Why did you give me the bill? I thought it was strange. When I asked my in-laws about it, They looked at me with wide eyes.
Huh? What are you talking about? You're not fit as a wife, so it's normal for you to pay at least that much, right?
Absolutely. First of all, if you had cooked a decent meal, we wouldn't have had to take delivery.
My in-laws were all over me, blaming me. I glanced at my husband, who was just playing with his phone without saying anything. Why can't he even protect me from his parents? And yet, on the car ride home, he said,
"Oh man, my mother and father was being horrible today, huh?"
If he thinks that his parents were treating me horribly, he could have at least argued against them. So I demanded my husband to pay for my in-laws' delivery. I at least don't have to put up with what my husband says. Then he pleaded me, saying,
"Give me a break. I'm having a hard time this month because of the drinking party at work too."
"No way. You didn't do anything today. And yet you ate the fried chicken as if it was yours or something, didn't you?"
"Oh, well, yes, but..."
My husband got quiet and didn't say a word until we arrived home. When we arrived home, my husband ended up taking a bath without mentioning what had happened today. I decided to call my mother at that point. "Mom, I'm sorry about today, even though we promised." "It's okay. Don't worry about it. You're Drake's wife, so you should take better care of your husband's parents than me. Don't worry about your own mother. Just think about making a happy family for yourself." "Okay, thank you, Mom. I certainly understand what my mother is saying. I want to get along well with my in-laws, and I also want to make our life as a married couple better. But I wonder if I will be able to endure this kind of thing for a long time. I have been with my current company for 3 years now, and it has been a great place to work, with no overtime except during the busy season. I have a good working relationship with my colleagues, and I even talk about my family with them."
What? And does that mean you have to work for free every weekend and even get ripped off for lunch?
One of my youngest colleagues said in surprise after hearing my story. "Yes, something like that."
"Oh, that's really not good. I wouldn't be able to stand it."
One of my colleagues who are older than me replies. At lunch, when we each spread out our lunch boxes and chat about our issues, it relieves me of all the stress I have from the weekend.
"Nina, you can say what you want to say to your husband more, can't you?"
My colleagues would tell me that, but I had a hard time saying it harshly to my husband. My mother told me that since I got married, I should support my husband's family too. So I can't really say that I want to say fully to my husband, you know. But when I think about how this could go on forever, I'm not sure if I can endure it. Then one of my younger colleagues grunt, as she crosses her arms.
Would your mom still tell you to put up with it, even in such a situation like this? I think what she thinks about first and foremost is her own daughter's happiness.
Then, hearing those words made me realize something. Certainly, I cannot say that I am happy right now. That's how much I've been holding back. This Saturday, I will definitely go home to my mom's house and spend the night. That day, I made up my mind to do so. I told my husband that I was going to stay over during the weekend. And finally, Saturday came. I went to my mom's house in a happy mood. My mother greeted me kindly. I sat in the living room with my mother and enjoyed tea and sweets. I felt as if all the fatigue and exhaustion I had felt up to that point had been healed at once. Hey, Mom, let's go eat something delicious today. A day trip to a spa would be nice, actually, I said to my mother with excitement. Okay, but are you sure you can be that active? You're working, so why don't you take it easy on your day off? My mother may have said that out of concern, but for me, I was in the mood to be active. I want to be active today. I see. Well, let's go out then. I was really happy to go out with my mother. We had dinner without making any plans, went to a nice spa, did some shopping, returned to my parents' house, and got drunk with expensive wine and snacks together at night. Originally, my mother used to travel with my father a lot, but after my father passed away, my mother began to just stay at home. It had been a long time since she had been out to various places, and she seemed to be enjoying herself as well, which also made me happy. I was in a great mood as I greeted Sunday morning. I love that I don't have to get up early on the weekend to go to my in-laws' house. Mom, what would you like to do today? And do you want to go for a massage? As I was talking about this, my phone suddenly rings. My husband's name is displayed on the screen. I had a bad feeling about this, but with my mother in front of me, I couldn't just ignore it. Hello?
Oh, Nina, can you come over right away?
Oh, what's wrong?
I'm at my parents' house right now, and my mom fell down the stairs and hurt her leg.
What? Is she okay?
We're in a lot of trouble, so I need you to come over.
But... As I said that, my mother tapped me on the shoulder. I turn around and see my mother smiling at me.
Your husband's parents are in trouble, right? You should go to them.
But I'm here with you, Mom.
I told you that you don't have to put me first, didn't I?
Okay. I told my husband I would be right there and headed for my in-laws' house. When I arrived, I rang the doorbell and my husband greeted me.
Oh, you've come a long way. Well, come on in.
I was concerned that my husband was being extremely calm. As I headed into the living room, I heard Maria and Bernie laughing. When they both saw me, they said,
"You're late,"
angrily. I stood there stunned, not understanding what they meant. My mother-in-law is standing and walking around completely fine. Maria, didn't you hurt your leg? When I said that, Maria grinned. If we didn't say that, you wouldn't have come, would you? I beg your pardon?
Well then, go ahead and clean the storage room.
Saying that, Bernie forcibly handed me the cleaning tools. No way! What are you doing? Hurry the hell up! Maria's angry voice made me jumpy, and I followed my usual habit of obeying her. In my parents-in-law's house, I had no one on my side. Such a situation naturally made me feel weak. The storage room was very dirty. Unfortunately, I was wearing my favorite dress that day. Could I borrow an apron or something? When I asked for an apron, Maria kicked me out saying, I wouldn't lend you such a thing. I was left to clean the dusty storage room with my nice dress. Finally, I finished cleaning and went to the bathroom to wash my hands. My dress was extremely dirty, and since I didn't even get a mask, a lot of dust got in my mouth and made me sick. When I went to the living room, Maria said, Are you finally done? You really are so slow. This was just too much now, and I was at my limit. My in-laws, including my husband, left everything to me while they enjoyed eating their delivery. You are dirty, so please don't come to the dining table. Oh, and that's the bill for our lunch today. My mother-in-law pointed to the bill on the shelf. My husband was eating the delivery happily, not even looking at me. I can't take it anymore. On the ride home, I just sat there in silence and didn't say anything. I wanted my husband to talk to me.
Well, I'm sorry about today. My parents are troublesome, aren't they? Suddenly, they want us to clean the storage room.
Huh? Is that all you got to say? I must have been very angry. I said this to my husband in a cold tone. My husband looked a little flustered and said,
Oh, no, I apologize for lying to you about my mother being injured.
So he is aware that he did something wrong in the first place. Then why didn't he try to protect me? Frustrated, I got quiet. Then my husband made an unbelievable comment.
Next time, let's show my parents their grandkids or something.
What?
Mom and Dad said they can't wait to see their grandkids' faces, and if we have kids, maybe they'll be more nice to you, don't you think?
I reached the peak of my anger and said to my husband, Stop the car. My husband was surprised, but When I repeatedly said, "Stop the car now," he reluctantly stopped the car. I immediately got out of the car and said, "Let's get a divorce," and left him on the spot. My husband froze as he says,
"Excuse me?"
How could he say such ridiculous things while his wife was in this situation? I was so disgusted with my husband. I quickly picked up a cab and headed back to my mother's house. My mother was surprised to see me in a dirty dress. What happened? She must have thought that this was indeed something out of the ordinary. I told my mother about everything that had happened at my parents-in-law's house, my husband's attitude and behavior, and so on. My mother was absolutely mortified. Then she apologized to me. "I'm sorry. If I knew you were suffering so much, I wouldn't have pushed you into a corner like that just because you were Drake's wife." "No, it's not your fault, Mom. I'm the one who didn't talk to you about these issues."
"Nina, you should get a divorce. You don't have to put yourself out for people like that anymore."
When my mother said that to me, I felt as if a weight had been lifted from my shoulders. I cried as hard as I could. I immediately took a bath and washed my clothes. Then I ate my mother's home-cooked meal and finally felt at peace. I looked at my phone and saw many incoming calls and texts from my husband. I ignored them for now and rested. The next day, I took the day off from work and packed up my belongings and brought them to my mother's house when my husband was not there. I then left the completed divorce papers on the table. Then that evening, my husband came to visit my mother's house with my parents-in-law.
"Hey, what's going on? Talking suddenly about divorce. You even took your stuff out when I knew nothing about it."
My husband begins to yell. My in-laws also stared at me and said terrible things. "You're unbelievable, do you know that?"
"That's why I told Drake not to marry a girl who was raised in a single-parent household."
My in-laws made such unbelievable remarks in front of my mother. As I was thinking that I had to talk back, my mother slammed the table with a loud bang.
"How dare you all insult my precious daughter? If you've heard my daughter's story, you're the ones who are insane. You call her every week and abuse her, making her to do tedious housework and even charging her for your lunches?"
My mother's angry voice made my in-laws flinch. And then they all got quiet and couldn't talk back because what my mother was saying was absolutely right.
"My daughter is not your housekeeper. I will never forgive you people."
Just as my mother said this, the door to the next room opened. Then a man in a suit appeared. I wondered who he was, and the man said,
"Hello, I'm Howard, the lawyer."
Both Drake's parents were surprised at the sudden appearance of a lawyer. Apparently, this lawyer was the son of a good friend of my mother's, and she contacted him and asked him to come on short notice. The lawyer explained that my husband was to blame and that I could claim divorce and compensations on the grounds that his action and words had caused me to suffer mental distress. My in-laws were absolutely mortified and their faces turned pale when they heard what the lawyer had to say. In the end, my mother said,
"Well, that's the end of the story. I want you all out of this house before I call the police,"
and sent the in-laws away. After that, thanks to the lawyer, I was able to get exactly everything I claimed to be paid. He was a really good lawyer and saved my life. By the way, I heard that my ex-husband got in debt and moved back to his parents' house. However, the neighbors had actually seen how I had been working hard, and when they saw that my ex-husband had come back, they rumored that his wife had abandoned him, and his parents were also talked behind their back, and to be known as the weird people. Moreover, I heard that some people at work have found out about the divorce incident, and people are treating my ex-husband coldly. Well, he deserves everything he gets. Meanwhile, I have returned to my parents' house and am living happily with my mother. I don't want to be in a relationship for a while, so I'm going to enjoy my days with my mother and cherish my time with her. Who do the in-laws think they are? Husbands who do not help their wives are also the worst. I am so glad Nina was able to get rid of these people. I hope Nina and her mother will continue to live happily together. Thank you for watching to the end. Please subscribe to our channel. See you in the next video.
I was furious at my crazy husband insisted on celebrating the birth of our twins on the day I left the hospital. I decided to revenge.
I was rubbing my stomach, which was naturally aching after delivering twins by C-section. I was trembling with anger in the car right after I left the hospital.
Come on, it's a day to remember. Let's celebrate the birth of a mom of two. You've been taking it easy in the hospital. You should move your body a little. It's hard to put off the weight you've gained, isn't it?
Why does this man think that a body of a woman who has had her stomach cut open fully recover in just a few days? And why does this man always decide things on his own without consulting me? Oh, that's right. He's crazy.
So I wanted to talk to you about something.
When I heard the words that came out of my husband's mouth after this, and when I learned what the mom of two really meant, something snapped inside me. My name is Emma, 32 years old. I'm a housewife who works part-time at a nearby supermarket. When I first got married, I thought that children would come naturally. However, it seems that my body has difficulty conceiving, so I started treatment when I was 30 years old. The side effects began to make me sick, so in order to focus, I originally worked full-time as an office worker, but resigned a short time after treatment began. The treatment was difficult at times, but my husband Vicente supported me through it. I am now pregnant with a child I have dreamed of for so long. To my surprise, I found out that we are having twins. In contrast to my joy, something worrisome happened soon after I became pregnant. What? Is Aurelia coming back? Unlike my stern face, my husband told to me one day without changing his expression. Aurelia was my husband's childhood friend. I had met her once at the wedding. I heard that their houses were close and she and my husband grew up together like siblings. However, I only remembered her as an insane woman. It was on the day of the wedding. I was nervous in the waiting room when Aurelia and my parents-in-law appeared out of the blue and said, "Anything you don't understand about Vicente, you can ask me. I know Vicente better than anyone else." I had never met Aurelia before, so it was only natural to think, who is this person? My head was in turmoil. "Well, it's nice to meet you." I smiled bitterly and glanced at my mother-in-law for help. My mother-in-law seems to have noticed my glance. "I will introduce her to you. This is Vicente's childhood friend, Aurelia." Childhood friend? Why did they bring a childhood friend into the waiting room? I didn't understand the behavior of the in-laws, but I didn't understand Aurelia either. "Oh, I see. Hi, I'm Emma. And don't worry, I will ask Vicente himself about what I don't know about him." I smiled back at her, as her face twitched. At that time, I had thought Aurelia had feelings for my husband, so I was determined not to get defeated. But soon, I was told that Aurelia was married, and all I could think was that she was a strange woman. My husband apologized quite a bit after the wedding, but it didn't fix my mood for a while. Thus, my memories of the wedding were made unpleasant by this woman. Fortunately, Aurelia was living far away from us because of her husband's work, so I was truly relieved. However, she was now coming back to her hometown because of her husband's job transfer. To be honest, I was not in the least bit happy about it. My husband and I had rented a house near my parents-in-law's house. It seems that Aurelia and her husband also rented a place near her parents' house, so we were to be neighbors. Why did they go through the trouble? I was disappointed, but Aurelia's attitude toward me was surprising. "I'm sorry about what I said at the wedding. Vicente told me you were pregnant. Congratulations. I envy you. I'm going through some treatments too, but it's not easy. I looked at Aurelia, a little downcast, and recalled myself in the past. Well, it was impossible for me not to see Aurelia and her husband at all. And Elton, Aurelia's husband, seemed like a very nice man. Aurelia seems to love her husband, and there seems to be nothing going on between her and Vicente. Still, the bad memories of the wedding will never disappear. Time can't be turned back. I would ostensibly talk to Aurelia, but I had no intention of opening up to her at all. Meanwhile, the twins were growing well, and my husband was doing a great job with the housework.
I'm sure having twins will be very difficult. I'm worried about your body, but I hope you give birth to healthy twins.
He also worried about my health like that too. Aurelia was a housewife, so she often visited her parents' home, and even my in-laws' home, though she was merely a childhood friend. She never came to our house, but I did not feel very happy about it when I met her at my in-laws' house. When Aurelia was not there, I asked my mother-in-law, I feel Aurelia is too close to Vicente for a childhood friend. Did they used to date or something? My husband denied it, but I was wondering all along. My mother-in-law looked at me with a puzzled look on her face. Those two? That would never happen. Aurelia's parents both worked, so she used to come over to our house a lot. That's why she doesn't know how to be reserved at our place. From your point of view, I understand you don't feel good about her, but our family can shoo her away. I couldn't help but wonder why my mother-in-law sighed as she said this. Toward the end of the pregnancy, we found out that the twins were girls.
Let's go shopping for all the baby stuff on our next day off.
My husband was in a good mood, and I was happy and looking forward to it too. But on the day, those two instantly erased these feelings. When I got out of the car and headed toward the entrance of the store, "Hey, I'm here! I'm so tired of waiting for you!" There was Aurelia, smiling and waving at us. What? Why is she here?
Sorry we're late. It's just that the road was so crowded.
My husband, who was standing next to me, called out to Aurelia, as if it were a matter of course. My husband had arranged to meet up with Aurelia without consulting me. It didn't make sense to me, and of course, it made me angry. I have to go to the restroom. After Aurelia left, I asked, "Hey, why is Aurelia here? I thought we were going to buy stuff for our babies, just the two of us. Why would you do something so selfish?" I was so frustrated that I had tears in my eyes, and yet, my husband replied,
She says she wants to buy baby stuff too. She's got good taste, so she will be able to pick out something much better than me. I know you're suspicious of us, but we really don't have that kind of relationship. I'm sure you will understand that Aurelia is a nice person if you get to know her.
I felt nothing but discomfort. Who didn't think anything of this situation? Baby stuff. Is Aurelia pregnant too? I haven't heard anything about it. My husband looked aghast at my words and continued.
Oh yeah, she wants to buy something for her future baby.
Soon after, Aurelia came back. I glared at her from behind as she and my husband strolled into the store. As you can expect, shopping was not fun at all. I'm not feeling well, so I'm going to sit over there, I said, and sat down on a bench alone. I saw them shopping happily and started to feel sick, even though my morning sickness should have stopped. What is with them? Are they really just childhood friends? It surely doesn't look like it. I didn't want to be annoyed, but their presence was just increasing my stress level. Then, I delivered my twin daughters safely by C-scan as planned. My husband cried and he rejoiced, and my parents and in-laws, upon receiving the call from me, thanked me. On the day I was discharged from the hospital, my husband came to pick me up. The plan that we discussed was for him to take me back to my parents' house, but the car was going in the opposite direction. "Where are you taking me?" I asked my husband as I looked at the scenery outside.
Can we stop by at our house? I've actually prepared something for you. I've invited my parents and Aurelia, so let's celebrate.
I was nonplussed by my husband's word. "I can't. You have to take me to my parents' house right now. My body isn't at its best, and it's hard for me to even sit down like this. I've got my stomach open, you know. If you want, I can show you the wound. Are you trying to have a party or something? Are you crazy?" My husband said, miffed at my attitude, raised his voice.
Come on, it's a day to remember. Let's celebrate the birth of a mom of two. You have been taking it easy in the hospital. You should move your body a little. It's hard to put off the weight you've gained, isn't it?
This caused my daughters to start crying at the same time. My husband looked at them through the mirror.
Poor babies. Look, they are crying. We're almost home, so we should take a rest, and then we'll go to your parents' house. That sounds good, doesn't it? I mean, it must be hard to take care of twins, right? So I wanted to talk to you about something.
I honestly don't remember much of what happened next. All I remember is that my body was trembling with anger toward my husband. That's it. That's how far out of the norm my husband's words were. When we arrived home, my parents-in-law and Aurelia were already waiting outside. As soon as she opened the car door and saw the girls, Aurelia said, "Emma, you're being so mean to me by refusing my visitation." Which one should I choose? I slapped Aurelia's hand vigorously as she tried to touch my daughters. "What are you doing, you little prick?" She glared at me. "My precious daughters are about to be kidnapped by a strange woman. Where is the mother who doesn't protect her daughters in such a situation? Don't you dare touch my daughters!" I held my hands out as if to guard them. "What kidnapping? That doesn't sound good. I just thought it must be hard for you to take care of both of them, so I take one of them for you." "Hey, Vicente, I thought you already talked about it." I glared at Vicente.
I did tell her, but Emma doesn't want to. I'm sorry, Aurelia, but you have to give up. I'm sure that one day a baby will come to you if you keep up with your treatment.
He said to Aurelia calmly. But this woman is actually crazy. "It's too late now. I'm ready to raise a baby, and I bought all the stuff too. If you're saying you don't want to, then pay me for the cost," she shouted. I began to feel the eyes of the neighbors looking at us, wondering what we were arguing about. My mother-in-law sensed this and said, "Aurelia, I'm sorry. Please go home for the time being. Raising a child is hard work. Emma might change her mind." "But," I continued to watch the conversation between my mother-in-law and Aurelia with cold eyes. She might change her mind? Not in a million years. "Aurelia, does Eldon know about this?" Aurelia's face turned pale at my words. "I won't forgive you if you say anything to my husband. You're so arrogant just because you became pregnant. You have 2 children now. Why can't you give me one of them?" She rounded and raved. "Don't be ridiculous. What are my daughters to you? You think I'm just going to give you one of them like a cat or a dog? Of course not. Are you stupid? Don't take me for a fool, all of you." I glared at Aurelia, Vicente, and my in-laws with all the hatred I could. I pulled out my phone out of my pocket. "Can you pick me up soon? Thanks," I told the person on the other end of the line.
Hey, who are you calling?
Vicente asked, but I ignored him. In a few minutes, Aurelia's husband, Elton, arrived. Why? This isn't what you think it is. Aurelia clearly becomes impatient.
We can talk about what I think when we get back. Come on, let's go.
With a stern face, he took Aurelia home. I had exchanged contact information with Elton not long ago. He also seems to suspect an affair between them as I did. Also, because Aurelia started to buy things for babies, he thought that she might be pregnant with Vicente's child. We asked the detective to investigate, but the only result was that the two were just friends. Then we began to suspect something else.
Aurelia was talking over the phone yesterday, and it was probably Vicente. I heard a voice saying something about one of the twins. I don't want to think so, but...
We only found out about the plan the day before the birth. I told the hospital that I want to refuse to see anyone but my parents out of fear. Also, I proceeded to prepare for divorce, which I had been thinking about for a long time. If there is not enough evidence, it is meaningless. I wanted to get the divorce in my favor, so I intentionally kept my husband in the dark.
I wanted to talk to you about something. I was thinking maybe Aurelia could raise one of the two. It would be easier for you, and Aurelia would be happy too. I think it would make everyone happy.
I was able to record my husband's unbelievable suggestion in the car. I immediately sent a message to my parents asking them to pick me up. From then on, I kept Elton on the phone. They had no idea what I was doing, and they were all willingly saying that they were accomplices. Did they really think I would accept such an impossible proposal? My parents arrived shortly thereafter. As soon as they got out of the car, my father grabbed my husband.
You!
My mother and I desperately tried to stop my father from getting emotional. Dad, it's okay. He's not worth it. Let the lawyer take care of the rest. My father calmed down at my words.
Yes, you're right. I'm sorry. Let's go home now. Today is the last time we will see these guys.
I nodded to my father's word. Then Vicente said,
Lawyer? The last time? Are we getting divorced? Why? We ended up not giving up our daughter, and I feel bad for the girls if they don't have a father. And there's no way you can live on your part-time income.
As if taking advantage of my ranting husband, my mother-in-law follows. Yes, and I want to see my grandchildren too. Please don't decide everything on your own. We will raise our grandchildren as a family. My mother-in-law said something incomprehensible. I take a deep breath. I don't understand why you think we can still live together without getting a divorce after such an incident. I don't intend to do so. Besides, you were the one who gave up your daughter first. Are you stupid? When your daughters grow up and have children, if her husband and his family were to take them away from you, to give them to someone else because they feel sorry for her, as a father, would you be able to say that it can't be helped and hand them over? I don't think so. The look on my face at that time was so powerful that neither my husband nor my parents-in-law could say anything. My mother held me as I wavered and said, Don't you ever come near my daughter and granddaughters again. Next time, I will call the police without mercy. Vicente's father is a teacher, right? Why did your son grow up to be such a punk? It's a small town, and now, with all this attention, I hope there won't be any strange rumors. My mother snickered softly.
If that happened, I'm finished.
My father-in-law fell to his knees, and my mother-in-law turned pale. It's your fault, Vicente. If only you hadn't done that to Aurelia so long ago. My mother-in-law's anger was directed at my husband. But to me, it didn't matter.
Emma, what are you going to do with all the baby stuff Aurelia bought?
My husband asked in a pathetic voice. You two bought all that stuff on your own, and I don't think it's any good. I don't need any of that stuff. I took my time and chose everything online and have already placed it all at my parents' house. You have nothing to worry about. You can call my lawyer for anything else. I smiled, and my husband broke down in tears. After that, my husband and I got a divorce, although it took a while. In the end, there was no romantic relationship between my husband and Aurelia. I found out that Aurelia, who was unable to get pregnant, asked Vicenti's parents to help her with this horrible plan. But why wasn't my ex-parent-in-law able to decline Aurelia? The reason for this is apparently that in the past, my husband had carelessly injured Aurelia to the extent that she was left with a scar. They felt guilty about that and couldn't resist her. Furthermore, I learned that Aurelia had been demanding money regularly from Vicente and his parents, calling it medical expenses. It seems that Aurelia's husband and Aurelia's parents did not know about this, and we also found out a shocking truth. The scar had healed to the point where it was difficult to tell where they were. As soon as my ex-parents-in-law found out about this, they turned the tables and filed the lawsuits against Aurelia. They claimed alimony, but Aurelia's parents seemed to be sensible people, and they disowned Aurelia, who cried and begged them to help her. There was little evidence of the attempted kidnapping, and I could not give them any criminal punishment for it. However, Aurelia's husband and I have both been emotionally distressed because of this incident, and we filed a claim for compensation for mental anguish against them. My ex-parents-in-law shifted the blame to Aurelia. Aurelia said, "I was the one who was mentally deranged. It was hard when my husband kept talking about our future child. I would take a psychiatric evaluation or anything." Elton, however, was happy with his life with Aurelia. After he became suspicious about her relationship with my ex-husband, he regularly recorded their conversations. "It's your fault we can't have children. You're useless," she often shouted at him. "They say you lose your shape after childbirth, and a C-section leaves scars. I'm glad I was able to have a child without having to go through the pain." Elton had successfully recorded her phone call with my ex-husband. With this as evidence, Elton and I were victorious. The reason for Aurelia wanting a child was because she didn't want to feel like she was losing to everyone around her. I was disgusted by such a self-centered reason. I don't want a woman like that to become a mother for the rest of her life. Maybe it is true that babies choose their mothers from the sky. That's what I thought to myself. As my mother said, rumors spread. Parents of my ex-father-in-law's students began to call the school to inquire about him. He eventually became neurotic and locked himself in at home. My ex-mother-in-law is a housewife, so the family's income was cut off. They apparently didn't have much saved up either. So now, the family of three seems to be living a simple life. My ex-husband seems to be living under shame now that his friends and co-workers found out about the incident. I hope he regrets his actions for the rest of his life. As for me, I'm busy taking care of my daughters every day. Thanks to the support of my parents, I'm getting by. When I contacted the company I used to work for, I was told that they would be waiting for me to come back anytime. You never know what life has in store for you, but I feel happy with the life I have now. As I watched my daughters sleeping peacefully in the same position, as if in synchronization with each other, I vowed to be a strong mother.